Okay. And so I'm not sure who was here for last meeting, but we did, I was not here. I was in Mount Shasta. So Sonia actually took over and facilitated the last meeting. And so I wanted to ask if anybody did the process 11 segment intending and how that went for you guys over the last couple of weeks.
I didn't intentionally like practice it or do it like
You didn't?
consciously. No, I forgot.
Okay.
I'll just be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
You know, this is I wasn't there. This is my first time ever joining you all, but I segment attend a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, I did like one or two things like the day after, but that's it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how did it go for those 1 or 2 days?
I can't remember an exact example,
Okay.
but I did. I know it was because of the group, I thought about it or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's interesting because as I was rereading it, I'm like, man, and it is absolutely a process that would be so great for us to make habit, like just to be able to do all the time, but I know how it goes because you get going with the next thing and you're not stopping to think
Mhm.
ahead. It's like being on go mode without stopping to take that moment to, okay, I'm moving into this next thing, How about Takira? Were you on the last meeting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. The money and the law of attraction one.
Yeah, she was here last Wednesday for the new meeting.
Yeah, no, I meant for chapter 16.
No, not since when you got back. No, last meeting was when you were leaving to go.
Gotcha. Okay.
And hope it was well and nice and worth it and beautiful.
Yes, it was. And I'm actually going to be doing a compilation video of all my pictures. And actually,
nice.
Yeah, at the waterfall, I had brought my drum, and so I actually did some drumming at the waterfall, and I recorded it, and it was really cool because at a couple of moments you could kind of see where the water would flurry up, and then all of a sudden I got this like orb flash of light in my eyes, and it could have been the way the sun was reflecting and everything else, but it was such a magical experience to happen right in those moments, and I was able to get that recorded, so I'm excited to put that out.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. But
so did I miss, to answer your question? Yeah, I did miss last week.
Okay.
For this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We were just kind of going over if anybody had any good experiences with the segment intending. Yeah, with process 11. So, okay. Well,
I think I did. That's interesting. Yeah, I did actually, because I started to appreciate, like, I was in a bad space and the person took my money that I paid a bill for and didn't add it correctly. And I think I did segment intending at that moment because it worked out in my favor. And I was like very calm. And I said, no, they're going to end up giving me my money back. And I kept saying it over and over and repeating it in my head that was going to be the next step. Like, forget all the middle stuff. I'm intending that this is the outcome, and I just manifested it, and it happened.
Yeah.
So maybe that is what I did. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, that's absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, let me see. Where are we at? I think we're far enough. And I know Sonia said she has an HOA meeting tonight, so she's hoping that she'll be able to pop on when that's done. If it gets done in time for her to be able to pop on, we'll see how that goes.
Trouble for not being here. I'm just kidding.
There is never anyone in trouble for not being here. This is free to come and go as you will. So no.
If there was, it would be Sonia, because I would be being incredibly sarcastic.
Okay, and so let me see here. We are going to go ahead and get started with our tapping meditation. Does anyone have any questions about tapping before we move into that? Is everyone
I do have a question actually.
okay?
Are there specific ones that are both hands and one hand?
You can
Like
do it.
points, like points.
Honestly, it's very free flowing, and you can do them with one hand or both hands. You know, I know like the eyebrow points, the points where there's two, I'll usually do two, but if you're doing one, you're still going to get resolved. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but like under the arm, you know, you can't really under the arm both times, you know, so that would be a little awkward. I guess you could, but you know, yeah. Does anyone else have any questions about tapping before we move into the meditation? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put the points up on screen as I always do, and we will move forward. The tapping meditation that I chose for this evening is called Quieting the Critical Voice. So if you would like to go ahead and put yourself on mute, but I do invite you to consider repeating the words after me as I say them. And we will start by taking a few deep breaths. So I'm going to go ahead and have you take a big open mouth breath in and breathe in and out. And one more time, open mouth breath in and out. All right, and we are going to start by tapping the side of the hand. Even though I have a critical voice in my head, I am open to relaxing and breathing now. Even though I can struggle to quiet this critical voice, I choose to deeply love and accept myself. Even though it's hard to picture being free of this critical voice, I am open to being free of it. Eyebrow, this critical voice. Side of the eye. Every time I feel hopeful. Under the eye, this voice creeps in. Under the nose, and it weighs me down. Under the mouth, it says things like, don't get your hopes up. Collarbone, good things don't happen to people like you. Under the arm, it's too good to be true. Top of the head, there is so much going wrong. Eyebrow, a part of me wants to quiet this voice. Side of the eye, part of me wants to listen to it. Under the eye, this critical voice keeps me productive. Under the nose, this critical voice keeps me pushing for more. Under the mouth, this critical voice keeps me safe from disappointment. Collarbone, is this really true? Under the arm, all these old beliefs that I picked up in my past. Top of the head. Are these beliefs even mine? Eyebrow. It's impossible to thrive under such criticism. Side of the eye. It's hard to grow when I allow this voice to weigh me down. Under the eye. I thought I needed to listen to this voice. Under the nose. I thought it was a responsible thing to do. Under the mouth. But this voice doesn't serve me or others. Collarbone. This voice is simply my fears. Under the arm. And it's safe to acknowledge my fears. Top of the head. And it's safe to let them go. Eyebrow. I am ready to quiet this critical voice. Side of the eye. Maybe I don't need to fear this voice. Under the eye. I make peace with my critical voice. Under the nose. I accept my critical voice. Under the mouth. It's simply an old, quiet voice. Collarbone. That comes from old beliefs and fears. Under the arm. I am in control now. Top of the head. And I choose to live in my truth. Eyebrow. I choose to listen to my compassionate voice. Side of the eye. I promise to be a better friend to myself. Under the eye. And when I hear this old critical voice. Under the nose. I simply smile and shine light on it. Under the mouth. I become aware of my critical voice and I let it go. Collarbone. I am in control of my inner voice. Under the arm. And I choose to remind myself daily. Top of the head. I am enough. Eyebrow. I remind myself that it is safe to try. Side of the eye. That it is safe to make a mistake. Under the eye. That it is safe to succeed. Under the nose. Because no matter what happens. Under the mouth. I choose to be a good friend to myself. Collarbone. This criticism has only held me back. Under the arm. I now choose to nurture my spirit with kindness and optimism. Top of the head. All is well. Okay. And we're going to take a slow, deep breath in through the nose. Hold. and let it out. One more time, deep breath in through the nose. Hold and let it out. Okay. I know I say this every time, but I always feel so calm after we do the tapping. I feel like it just zones it in. I don't know how you guys feel, but that is how I always feel after. And with that, what we are going to do is we are going to set intention for our process for the evening. So for those of you that are new here, we pull for what process we're going to read. And so this is what we're doing right now for whatever is going to be best collective for the group. Okay, and we are going to be doing chapter 17 and reading process 8 this evening. So let's see here.
Book of Positive Aspects.
Thank you. I can always count on Andy to beat me to it. And I love that. It's very helpful, actually.
Quicker if I'm even more ready, like I could be.
You know, I love that is what we're reading, especially in light of Sonia's new book study. I think it very well resonates with the last meeting and all of that. So how fun that the positive aspects came up for us this evening. I think that's wonderful. Okay, so before we get started, any questions, thoughts, anything like that, or are we ready to just dig into chapter 17? Okay.
Oh, thanks. It's harder for me to read the pink when it's strong. Got my reading glasses.
Okay. All right. So thoughts on this chapter? I just love this reminder that, like what they were saying right at the very end, it doesn't matter whether you're saying yes to it or you're saying no to it. If you're focused on it, then it's in there, you know. I yeah.
Yeah, and then they also say that if you have a lot of let's see, emotion attached, and often many of us do have those moments where we are very emotional and very strongly not wanting something and thinking about that, and that is a good reminder. Wait a minute, I want to pivot. I want to think about something else. I want to segment attend before, get ahead of it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous meeting in the last month or so, or if I was just thinking about it a lot and I talked to a friend about it, but this whole, I was saying experience. When you look at something and you shout yes at it, you include it in your experience or vibration. And when you look at something and you shout no at it, you also include it in your experience. I was thinking about this a lot because I was noticing a few Abraham friends that were like shouting no at stuff. And I want to yell at them like, you should know better. And that's me shouting no at that though, right? And I realized that right away, and it's still like really frustrating me. Like,
But you know what, Andy?
you should know how to do, like, you know what I mean?
Sorry.
Like, you should know better. But yeah, I don't know. What were you gonna say, Jeannie?
Well, I was going to say, you know, if we, one of the reasons I like to meet is I do want to be reminded if I'm messing up. I want, and I have in the past interrupted people. The group has refined itself, but when I first started, I had a few people who came to my group, and I know I did that. I attracted that, who would tell the stories over 17 seconds, the negative part, and kind of go on and on about it. And I actually interrupted them. I would say, hey, you know, we're doing the ape thing now. We got to move on. We've got to cut that off. And so I approve if you're ever in one of my Sunday groups and that happens, please say something, because sometimes I'm thinking it, and I often can be very outspoken. So I love when another person says it also, and I'll always support you. And if I'm doing it, you know, catch me, just say, yo.
I've been being reminded though that they're like an important part of the creation process is knowing what you don't want.
Yeah.
Step one in asking. And I almost am like ignoring that too much in some cases, but
yeah, I think, you know, I think of the 17-second rule. If you say it real quickly and you say, look, I'm just going to say this quick, and then tell you the happy ending that happened, the wonderful thing that happened after, or the realization, the aha, then I think that's perfect. But if it's going on, and then it's
thing
like,
after thing, yeah, it could be like thing after thing.
yeah, or just more details rather than staying general and just moving through it.
It's interesting too, because that sort of leads back to the beginning of this chapter when they're talking about how, you know, are you doing what you want? Are you moving towards what you want to be doing? Or are you allowing all these other things to, you know, you're surrounded by many influences in your physical environment. Often others ask or insist that you behave differently in order to positively affect their experience. Now, I've actually been going through a lot of that in some personal stuff as of late, where I really had to put my foot down and say, you know what, I need to be focused and centered in here instead of trying to please everybody else, because I can't do that for them and they can't do that for me. And I love the way that this read about that as well. And, you know, it's interesting. My mom wrote a paper about the law of reciprocity, and it talks about in relationship to yourself, in relationship to your spirituality, your personal self-care, 100%. You give yourself 100%. But when you're in relationship with others, you give 50%, they give 50%, and that equals 100%. And I think a lot of times people get really confused by that, because they want to, I'm giving 100% of myself. Well, if you're giving 100% of yourself, what are they giving in return? And I don't know, for me, in my mind, it kind of wraps back around into this whole thing about, you know, staying on track between where you are and where you want to be, and not allow, you know, going through that with the other people and where they're at. So I don't know, I just thought I would share it because that kind of came to me as we were reading it about the law of reciprocity and how we deal with others in relationship to how we deal with ourselves as well.
And what would Abe say about that? You know what I'm thinking is, if you are inspired to give, go for it. And depending on whether they give back or not, that shouldn't even be part of the equation, right? It should just be, I'm inspired right now to share something, or to give that guy $10 in the corner, or not to. And it's just that's what I'm thinking. I can't speak for Abe, but that's what I'm thinking, that law of that's not the law of attraction. That's not the law of that we're learning, I think, except to keep it in place and say, if I'm inspired, I'm going to do it no matter whether they give back to me or not. And if that's the way it works, if I'm inspired, that's a goal for me anyway, all the time.
Yeah. All right. And any other thoughts or ideas about this chapter?
Do you mean like in some situations people give more than 50% of themselves to the other person? Like I'm giving
Inspired.
Well, I think as far, there's a lot of times when there is a moment when you're in relationship and one's give and one's take, and then it's out of balance. But how you would know that is by going back to your emotional set point and knowing, does this feel good to me or does this not feel good to me? And if you're giving to the point of feeling spent, and they're not, their part of the relationship is not in return, then maybe then that's where the check would come in and say, okay, this doesn't feel good to me. My emotional set point is telling me that it is off balance, And so it's just one way of looking at it in regards to relationships from that perspective.
Yeah, Abraham would say, like, put yourself first no matter what.
Right.
Exactly.
That's why I said 100% to yourself.
Yeah, and you're always going to be being selfish by natural nature. That's a funny way to say that. Like, and you would accept like someone giving you whatever if they would do it, right? I don't know what I'm trying to process in my brain.
And I was thinking about when you were talking about I've in the past, this is pre-Abe, like 30, 40 years ago, giving and I realized through Abe and looking back that wasn't some pure inspired, that was more like I should give. And when I didn't get back, it was like I didn't deserve. My bad. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy, or whatever bullshit comes into my head. That's where it was. But like recently I helped two friends do their taxes in the same day, on tax day, the day they were due, and it took hours. And I was so happy to do it. I wanted to do it. And during it, I had to laugh at myself, like, oh, what the heck am I doing? This is taking hours, but in the end, I didn't say, I made a joke because one person said, I should pay you. And I know she doesn't have a lot of money. And I said, tell you what, put me in your will. I'll go for that, but don't worry about it.
Forward.
But really, I was thinking, no worries. You know what? Let me help you out. And I didn't expect anything back. And I did kind of anticipate that it would take as long. But once again, I had to laugh at myself. I had to make fun of myself, say, I did, like Esther, I did that. Okay, I did that. And in the end, after the day was over, one in the morning and one in the early evening, I felt, you know what? I'm glad I helped them out. No big deal. I'm so selfish with my time. I can give some. It felt good.
Yeah.
So there's things like that.
Yeah.
I have a short example that actually happened today. In my experience, I just wanted to say, sorry to interrupt, by the way, but I've been volunteering with my son and his co-worker, the Mahogany Project, and I just enjoy it because it's kind of a creative outlet. They're having like a game show about like the African American culture, music and dance and acting and all of that, and it's called Playtime and whatever. So I was volunteering today, and the director said, we're going to try to get some money and we'd like to pay you. And I was like, oh, no, it's okay. This is fun for me or whatever. But later I had to think, well, you know what? I need to remember my worth. And if they want to pay me, that's kind of like, instead of always just trying to go above and beyond and, oh, it's fine and this and that, I was like, okay, that I'm going to accept that. I'm going to bring that into my vibration or whatever, and know that what I'm doing is worth being paid, even if it's just a tiny bit or whatever. So, and my daughter had to remind me also, she was like, Mom, sometimes you need to be a little selfish and that's okay. So I was
Yeah.
like, thank you, you're right. So that was just my example from today.
I think
Good
it's
point.
interesting how, sorry, she's wanting to go. I think it's interesting how we do that with ourselves. We're ready to refuse a gift or an offering given. And
Right.
that's, you know, if you're refusing it, then you're refusing your own abundance and prosperity. You're
Exactly.
telling the universe, no, I don't
Mhm.
need that. And then
Mhm.
it, you know, like law of attraction says, it's going to say, okay, well, you don't need that, you
You
know.
don't need it, you don't want it. So-
Yeah.
You make a
Exactly.
good point. You make a good point. Although my intention wasn't there, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, I could use, maybe I should have said yes. I don't know if she meant it. I don't know if she was just saying, oh, I should pay you. But that's a good
Okay.
point. I appreciate that.
Takira, did you have something to add?
I'm just like glowing because this is so timely with what I had to do today, which was hard as a woman entrepreneur and knowing my value for the prices that I set. And you know, I teach STEM classes, so I charge $3.40 an hour, and that's, you know, period. But one client, they paid $200 an hour, and I'm like, that's not my price. So I had to make that decision today, like during my cash flow, of like, hold up, Takira, you're selling yourself short, and you're making them happy, and they're not gonna say, oh no, well no. So I said, you know what? From now on, clients have to book a minimum of 3 classes, and my price is $3.40. And we actually just booked the client. We starting next week with the new school, and they're paying $3.40 an hour. And I said, but going forward, they have to book 3 at a time for a long period of time, so that I feel like I could go sit at a hotel for the weekend. You know what I mean? Because it's like you give so much, like you were saying, the 100 versus 50. I'm giving 150 to people, and it's like, no, that's out of balance. So this was like confirmation. So thank you. I'm glad that we had this chapter,
Yeah.
because they're not gonna like it, or they will, because if they want to have me, then they'll have to do what I tell them, which is a win-win, because they're still gonna pay less than $3.40, because I will still honor the price of $200 just to keep it fair.
I have
Yeah.
I have a friend that has this little saying that he says, and it's SW, SW, SWN.
Mm,
And what it
mm.
stands for is some will, some won't, so what?
So what?
Next. Yeah.
I love it.
And it
Thank you.
sounds kind of harsh, but when you think about it, that's the truth. And again, it goes right back to what we were saying, or, you know, oh gosh, where is it? It's not possible for you to stay on track between where you are and where you want to be if you're using all those outside influences to guide you. And so that's where maybe that sounds harsh, but getting back to being selfish and taking care of what we need to take care of for ourselves, that's kind of how how you want to embrace it. Like, it's okay, because just like you said, you made the decision, you let go of one thing, and then look at this, you have another client that came in and was more than happy and willing to do exactly what you required and asked of it.
Oh yeah, it's always gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, one door closes, it's like keep walking. There's more doors gonna open up for you.
Yeah.
So I'm always for it. Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a great discussion. Are there any other thoughts about this chapter before we move into the process? Okay, and I do want to acknowledge Elena and Elaine have both joined the group since we started the chapter. We're going to get ready to read process 8. And I want to make sure, are the both of you willing to be in the rotation for reading?
I would prefer not to. I'm not feeling 100% tonight, if you don't mind.
No
I would
worries.
just rather listen.
Absolutely.
Okay, you're on process number 8.
Yes, and I'm going to be putting it up on the screen as well.
Okay,
Yep. Elena,
thank you.
are you okay to read?
So, hello, everybody. I'm a person who speaks with the accent. I'm not sure if you want me to read. I'm willing to do anything, but
Okay.
whatever it is.
Okay.
And
Well,
just to let you know, one of your members had been. I'm in Seattle, and I'm one of the hosts for Seattle Abraham Hicks Law of Attraction Group.
oh,
And so one of your members did visit my group last time on our previous meeting, and she told me about your group, and I promised her to come and visit you sometimes. So we have been going through this book in my group, specifically kind of meeting twice a week. And we read this book like in I think it took us something like 13 months to
wow.
go through everything meeting, but it was every chapter, every point we discussed very deeply, which was very satisfying.
Very cool. Well, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for sharing. Yeah,
Thank you.
Sonia, wasn't it?
but most likely.
Yeah, I think me and Sonia talked about that Seattle group because we kind of both found it at the same time, but I haven't gone yet.
Was it Sonia who visited you? You
I
remember?
think so. Yes. Yes. Sonia,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, she
think it was,
unfortunately had a meeting tonight and was hoping she'd be able to pop on late, but I'm not sure if she's gonna make it. But I'm so glad that you're here.
We are meeting tomorrow at 6:30. If you are willing to come, you're more than welcome. I can put the information into the chat.
Yeah, if you're willing to put it in the chat for anybody that would like to be involved, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'll be
of
back.
course, no obligation. It's always just an offer.
Right, right.
There's everything in in this world.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So let me go ahead and, okay, so the process is going to be process 8, the book of positive aspects. And so for this, I think we'll each do 2 paragraphs. We left off with Jeannie. So Andy, I'm going to go ahead and have you start. Let me get it back. Let me get it back up on the screen for us. Okay. All right. Well,
I really like the end of this because I was thinking of this the whole time, like, because I did this recently with a coworker that I don't like so much. I decided to do a list of positive aspects about him.
how did that go? Did it shift? Did it shift for you?
Do you really want to know what happened?
You have 17 seconds. No.
No, I have way more than 17 seconds. I didn't like extensively do like a huge long list, but it got me into the mode of just appreciating what he did well instead of focusing and ruminating on what frustrated me. So yeah, but what was it, last Sunday or Saturday, he got fired.
Oh.
Not that I
It's a
wanted
good
him
day.
to be
That's one
not
of my
that
favorite things.
I didn't want him to be fired, but
The universe
when
provides.
I was the most frustrated with this situation at the beginning, I was like, God, I wish they would just fire him. But I was like, no, I'm focusing on the positive things, and it was getting better. And like, he just made he slept in, his alarm didn't go off, he didn't show up to work. So they had to fire him. So
Well,
I thought about it afterwards. I was like, wow, I really just got off that subject completely. And that whole situation improved. And
Тобой сижу, да.
I hope this is going to work out for him too, and he finds something better for him too.
I'm
So
sure.
I don't know.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it will. But I think it's cool too, though, that you said that you had been able to manage dealing with him better
Yeah.
until that happened. You felt differently about it, which I think is really great.
Yeah, that's my most important process is pay attention to how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's-
use this. I do a sibling every other Wednesday or every third Wednesday with my family after. Thank you, COVID. You know what? I love that we had COVID. Everything worked out for me so beautifully, and I would never have Zoomed if it wasn't for COVID. And I suggested to my family, we weren't that close. We hardly see each other. There's 7 of us left, and I said, hey, I got this account with the Boulder Art Association, and I got permission from the board to use it. And how about family Zooms? And at first, and there's one brother who, when growing up, 17 seconds, used to be very, very violent and aggressive and bully behavior. And I never really made up with him. It's always was in the back. And I knew I had to do books. I had to write positive aspects about this guy. And I did. And I see his humor. I see his creativity. I really enjoy him. We zig and zag. The stuff, his political beliefs are completely opposite mine, and he's actually kind of fanatic, and I'm just more lazy and no worries. And that topic doesn't come up. It just doesn't come up. And I confess, for a few times I had to say, yo, can we not talk politics to the whole family? And they all with ease said, yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. They all agreed. And so I look forward to my sibling Zooms, and we've been doing it for years now since COVID. And I believe it's for my positive aspects. So I use it often, not every day, but I use it sometimes. I've gotten to where I use it in my head, like at work. Sometimes I'll start thinking, oh, so-and-so. And then I'll tell myself, man, I've got to love this person, and I've got to list why. I've got to do it for my own sanity and for my own well-being. So I do it for selfish reasons. And sometimes people zig when you zag. The father of my son zigged when we zig and zag. We didn't run into each other, and he croaked. And no problem. So I love it. And I have some friends that are really good friends, but I don't really drink, and we zig and zag. If she hasn't called me for a while, when we get in touch, I find out she's been hanging out with her friends who party. And so I don't take it personally. I don't think, oh, Kara hasn't called me, I think, oh yeah, she's been hanging out with her friends who drink. I'm kind of boring in that way. And so it was a perfect. She zigged, I zagged. And then when we finally hook up, it's great. We just have so much fun laughing and sharing and doing things that, we both love art. So we do art together. And I love positive aspects. I highly recommend it.
I think this is going to be great for me as well. Again, I've been dealing with something that's been very in my face. And with that, though, I've been also like almost nitpicking every little thing that I find, to the point where I'm sick of myself almost about it. It's like, okay, I need to figure out how to look at this differently. I need to figure out how to see this from a different angle. The other thing I think I need to use this for is looking at the gas stations. Because I've been really thinking about that lately, how I've been allowing that to filter in and get me all rumbled up. And I don't know, not everybody knows I'm a traveling massage therapist. So like it hits hard because I'm all over the valley every day, and like, Yeah, but anyways, not gonna go there. I'm just gonna, look at the positive aspects of being grateful for what I do have within it, and that I'm still mobile and able and moving and all that fun stuff. I'm gonna zig and zag around it.
I have
Yeah.
something I can share. Thanks for letting me join you. So what I've been doing is looking for the blessing in things, that may appear to be a contrast, and sometimes there's a blessing. And I shared this in the other Money in the Law of Attraction group, but we were talking about something, and that week I had been driving down the street, and there was a car that was like going after me and honking and blinking their lights and trying to drive me off the road. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. This is like, I don't normally have this kind of contrast. Like, what in the heck is going on? I'm scared now. And I got home and my heart was going, and I was trying to catch my breath going, what in the heck? And then I realized I didn't have my lights on, and they were trying to tell me I didn't have my lights on. So I thought, well, yeah, that's my intention, is to have the universe support me. And so here the universe is trying to support me, and I'm trying to run away. And so I just laughed. I thought, they're trying to be helpful. And then I remembered that I have this thing. It started when I had this was years ago, I had a car accident, and I was going around the corner, and I got hit, and my car, it was at night and it was snowing heavily. I was around a blind corner, and my car was incapacitated, facing the wrong towards oncoming traffic, and they wouldn't have been able to see me. And I'm like, oh, this is really going to be interesting. And I just like put a prayer out there, and kind of out of nowhere, this big white fire truck comes and blocks all the traffic. And they asked me if I could put out my arm out the window so I could check my vitals. And I thought, oh my God, this is my band of angels. So then for a while, everywhere I went, I was surrounded by white fire trucks. It was like unbelievable. And so I noticed this 2 times when somebody was trying to seem like really harassing me and aggressive. I realized they were in a white pickup truck. And one time it was with the lights, and the other one was my mirrors were folded in. And I thought, isn't that great that I now know, even when something looks like it's really not supporting me and scary, and the contrast, that I can actually look and see how the universe is supporting me in ways that I didn't even know. And here with the white pickup trucks, it was like a good reminder that sometimes when things seem like that's a real contrast, let me see how it's really a positive aspect. And it's really supporting me. So that's what I'm trying to do. It kind of shifts, and wow, that was a miracle. And I just thought it was like a crisis or something. So that's my 2 cents.
Andy, that's awesome.
It's funny. Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. Any other thoughts about this? I'm super excited to practice this over the next 2 weeks. I'm hoping that we all have exciting stories to share when we come back again. I think this is gonna help me shift a little bit in some of the things that I've been facing lately, and take a look at it from a different perspective. All right. Any other thoughts before we close out for the evening?
I have a I was thinking about, would you for the tapping, did you read that from somebody else's writing?
I did. I have written a few of my own, but yes, I am the tapping solution.
Right. Oh, well, I was wondering, sometimes I'm so anal, especially when I'm with the Abe group, but the first few lines, I wanted to change them, because the way, could you read some of them to me for I can remember? It was,
let me see.
it was like an affirmation for what wasn't what we didn't want.
Here's what I would like to say about tapping. In the beginning, when you're doing a tapping meditation, a lot of times what it is it's taking what you're experiencing in a negative way and it being able to embrace that. So even though I'm thinking this way, I fully love and accept myself. And then through the tapping meditation, you're able to calm your system down so that you can allow yourself to think of these thoughts that maybe are negative, and then eventually be able to shift it around into a positive.
Yeah.
And
Can
so
you
that's
read
why.
what are some of the lines though? I'm
just a minute. I need to pull it back up because I shut it down
okay.
after we were done.
Okay. My aid hat.
They seem to go, to me, they seem to be positive and negative. They seem to be both. Like they're never like always negative or always positive.
Yeah,
right?
towards the end it got better to me, but for the beginning I kept saying sometimes, because it says it said it as though I do this all the time, and in my head I was going, oh well, sometimes that has happened, but not very much. It rarely happens anymore. So I kept correcting it, and I was wondering because yeah, with the Abe group, I just tried to be more Abe-ish rather than someone else's writing. But that's why I was trying to catch what that was.
I was doing that too. So
oh, okay, thank you. Sometimes I know, sometimes I'm anal, and sometimes it's like, oh my God, Jeannie, just stop it. But it's so important to me that if I say an affirmation, it's something that I truly do want and desire in my life. So
well, the topic was quieting the critical voice. And so what it is it's essentially talking about, okay, there's this critical voice that I've had, this is how it's been working with me, and then eventually getting to the point where saying, because what it said was,
but it doesn't really say I had it. It says it not. I'm doing it now. That's what it says. That's why I was asking you to read it to me again. So
even though I have this critical voice in my head, I am open to relaxing and breathing now. Even though I can struggle to quiet this critical voice, I choose to deeply love and accept myself. Even though it is hard to picture being free of this critical voice, I am open to being free of it.
Yeah, like even though it's hard it's like, well, oh no, it's not hard, or you know what I mean? It's like it's not hard to picture. It's not.
I get it.
It's me. I'm just kind of anal.
No, I get it. Yeah. So many of those statements seem very pushing against to me, but this technique thing is its own thing, and I realize I want to not Abe judge it anymore.
I think it's okay that maybe you're not always going to resonate with what it's saying, because for one person it may very well resonate for how they're feeling, but for another person such as yourself who realize that you've already worked through some of that, it's not going to be an official resonate for you as quickly. You know what I mean? And I think I think it's perfectly okay to change those words in your mind.
Oh yeah, I believe it's okay too. That wasn't my concern. I was just thinking it's interesting that, with the Abe group, some of those words were they were like saying, they were affirming what I didn't want. That's where I was coming from. That's why I was wondering if you wrote it, or if I thought maybe you didn't read it, because it just, I didn't feel aligned with that. But you know what I did? I just kept saying my own words, which was kind of funny, because I would hear yours and I would say it in my words.
Yeah, so, and that's perfectly okay, because anything that anyone else has written is not going to perfectly resonate for you. And like I said, maybe that's not something that is an issue for you to need to work through, but yeah.
Well, even if it was an issue, I wouldn't want to claim it, to say I have this as if it's happening now. I wouldn't want to claim it, because Abe says, tell a new story, or, don't focus on what you don't want. And so that's also where I'm coming from, where I want to focus. I love the tapping. I like the tapping. Actually, we did it, Sonia, when you did it, I think it seemed more positive affirmations to me. So
Yeah, I focus on that. I focus on, because I feel the same way you do, Jeannie. However, I do have to state that the purpose of stating these in the negative in the first place is to tap into those energies that you already have. So you are bringing up the active vibration that you have right now, the one that you have on that topic. You're activating that vibration within you where you are. And then the idea is, as we're doing the tapping, you're releasing the resistance so that you can now, on the same topic, raise your vibration. So now the next time you come back to this topic, hopefully you will be at a higher vibration on the same topic. And you have to activate it where you are, because that is your dominant vibration on that topic. You can
I could relate
try to put,
go ahead.
you can try to put different words to it, but that isn't going to help you, because it's just like we were talking about last week, where we're kind of playing with a bit of denial by trying to put fancy, good feeling words on top of it. But if we're just going to ignore where we really are, then we're not really moving ourselves from where that dominant vibration is. And that's the thing. We're so used to trying to find the right words, but the problem is you really have to be honest with yourself with where you are. And if you're in a place where there are negative words that can best be used to describe where you're at, that's okay too. That's okay.
Yeah, you know,
really,
well, that's what you do for the emotional scale. You define where you are, but you move up.
Yes.
Yeah, and I do like that
Yes.
process. I do like that.
right. And in that also, it does talk about, like, you can't go from bottom to top in a blink. You have to move up it one step at a time. And so that's kind of where the tapping sort of gets you into, okay, this is the reality of where I'm at, or what I have felt about this topic, and I'm going to accept and love myself in that moment with that, even though maybe it's not where I want to be right now, you know, because yeah. So, but I think it's okay for us to do it. However, if you decide that for you that doesn't resonate and you prefer to shift it a little bit, I think that's beautiful, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Sorry I was late. I joined the HOA board. I'm on the architectural committee, so I had to show up tonight.
We're in so much trouble. This is the board
I know.
right here.
I
Abraham
know.
board. I'm just kidding.
I did it before. I was on the board, my last HOA, and I was the board president. So I know how it works and everything. And I thought, that's okay. This time I'm just going to go with the architectural committee. I'm not going to get on the board. I'm just going to be on a committee. But I like to be involved. I like to do my part, you know, and it sounded like they couldn't even get people to show up to be on the board. And I was like, all right. I've been here almost 3 years. I'm going to put in my time.
Yeah.
That's okay. Well, I think you came at a perfect time. You came in at a perfect time.
What process did I miss?
Oh, process 8. We're doing the book of positive aspects. Yes.
Ooh, yay.
I know, I'm super excited. So, okay. So any other thoughts, comments before we call it an evening? All right, so I am super, super excited to be working the process, and I'm really looking forward to hearing how everybody does over the next couple of weeks. Don't forget that Sonia will be facilitating the law of attraction,
Money in the law of attraction.
Money in the law of
Wednesday.
attraction. So I did read the pages that you guys read today, so I was able to get caught up. I'm not going to be able to be at the next couple because I had to do a switch with a client, so I don't think I'm going to be able to make it in May. But keep me in the loop of the pages. So I would love to try to keep up with the reading, even though I'm not able to be there. And
Yeah,
then
I'll
we
do that. I'll
also-
keep posting. Oh, and I also figured out that the digital version we're using, those weird numbers that are showing up, they are the numbers that correspond to the actual pages of the printed copy, the hard copy.
Oh,
That's what I was like, that's really weird. It says number 14, but there are no numbers, but it happens to be on page 14. I wonder, okay, that's what that's for.
Great.
how funny. I'm just now saying, thank you, Andy, for sending me YouTube.
Oh, no, it took me a second. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And then also don't forget that Elena posted the links for her meetup as well, in case anyone's interested in that's the one in Seattle, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, Elena.
So, okay. All right, well, I'm super excited. Let's get to our book of positive aspects, and I will see everybody again in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much.
Everybody, bye-bye.
And I'll be happy
Bye.
to see any one of you tomorrow if you decide to show up.
I'll
Okay,
see you
there.
tomorrow, Elena. I'll be there.
I'll see you tomorrow
thank you so
too.
much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
You too.